Hello, welcome to the Skull and Skeleton in Art, Folk Art to Pop Culture. My name is Mary Urbas. I'm the gallery director and the exhibition curator for this fun, crazy exhibition that I do in odd years, pun intended. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through the gallery. I'm going to talk about the work. Hopefully I'll entertain you. I'll share some fun information, and you're going to see some pretty impressive work from 102 artists from, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 states all around the United States. And then there'll also be artists who created skulls for an auction to benefit the gallery, which we'll talk about in a minute. But to start off the exhibition, this is a race car hood that was a collaborative piece with Dwayne Workman and Scott Lucas and Terry Klausman that actually graced the hood of one of their stock cars that used to win races down at the Gabarron Freeway. I was lucky enough to get permission to put it outside of the gallery at Lakeland, and so we lit it up and the eyes light up green. And then that first sign that you saw was created by Jeremiah, who is my gallery assistant. And today joining me again is my lovely video assistant, a gallery assistant extraordinaire, Dan Simone. So come along for the ride. Oh, the show is up now, and it is up through November 8th, 2019. The gallery hours are 9 to 9, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 5. The big push is going to be for Thursday, October 24th, from 6 to 9 p.m. That's the opening, that's the costume party reception for the exhibition. We're going to have a Boneyard Market where artists, vendors will be showing works at a little bit different price point, cash and carry that night. And then we're going to have a auction of skulls that were generously donated by local and regional artists. And new this year is going to be a beer and cash wine bar. So come along for the ride. I hope you have fun. Welcome to the Skull and Skeleton in Art. We're going to start today with a piece by Ken Hetzel. Next we have 3 pieces by Kathy Scarrett. These are mixed media on canvas. I'm not going to be giving titles and information about everybody since there's over 300 pieces in the show. The hope is if you have questions, you can call me, you can email me. There are photos galore on Facebook under the event page that says Costume Party Reception, Boneyard Market, Auction. Then this next piece that's on a crate little turntable is done by Cindy Konopka. And as it's revolving, you'll see that it's a cow jawbone. Oops, that's a mistake there. And you're going to see lots of skulls, obviously, in the show. Most of them will be animal, and lots of depictions of human skulls. This next piece is done by Stephen Calhoun. It's a digital print on archival paper. Okay, now what we're going to show you is the collection of skulls and pieces that were donated to the gallery for a benefit. And so these artists were given these ceramic skulls. So we've got the first set of 3 here. If you go to the gallery website, there will be a link soon, and hopefully by the time this video is up, you'll be able to see a link that will take you to the individual pieces, and it will tell you the artist's name, it'll give you a description, what city they're from, and then you'll be able to go click a link that'll say bid on this piece, and it'll show you multiple images of all the different sides, because some of these pieces are kind of like little teasers where you're looking at them straight on, but you don't really see what's going on in the side or the background. And then we have 3 more here. And then up on top, Stephen Calhoun, who's working with saw, he generously donated this piece that he created for my skull show in 2017. So thank you, Stephen. Thank you to all the artists. These are artists, 25 artists from the Northeast Ohio area, 2 artists from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and one artist from Bloomington, Indiana. I am very honored and grateful and humbled that you guys did so much work into these skulls to help me promote the gallery. And the money that we will raise from this benefit, the hope is for me to hire an intern to help me with some of my programming and to also just start making some seed money for some of the exhibitions I have percolating. Okay, now we're going to return to the exhibition. This is a piece by Gadi Zamir, Sensory Overload. It's pyrography on wood. We've got a ceramic piece, a hand-built ceramic extra large size skull by Jeffrey Allen. Kind of like what, Third Rock from the Sun and the big head. Sorry, a little pop culture reference. Next we have a piece by Valton and Carey, Steam Skull King, mixed media. Next is a piece by Mary Sanders Lazenby, Catacombs, acrylic on canvas. Chris Young, Floating Skull. Steve Arrett, mixed media on paper, called Founders. And again, you'll see different approaches, different aesthetics. Some of the work is crazy, some of it's silly, some of it's borderline sick and psycho, but that's kind of what makes the exhibition go round. Here's another piece by Mary Sanders Lazenby, Fiesta Calavera, which is acrylic on canvas. Okay, next we have some mannequin arms that I gave to a friend of mine's daughter. She goes by the name of Presh Fritz. She's from Kalamazoo, Michigan. These are Rituals 1 and 2. The wall piece is done by Chris Young, called The Smile, wire and mixed media. And then the piece in front of you now, too, is another piece by Chris Young called The Hand. Again, mixed media. Then these next 7 pieces are done by Sean Ross. Sean Ross is a local tattoo artist. And some of these pieces are colored pencil. The first one is Freak Show with conjoined twins, and you know how much I like conjoined twins. It's colored pencil. We have the Wasp, which is colored pencil. Then we have this great piece on the wall called Dr. Resurrection, and look at those shadows. I hope the shadows come up in the video, because that's the gift. The next to that piece is another Sean Ross called Bipolar, mixed media, and then the crazy sculpture in front is called Gears of Death. And here's a little tidbit. His son just recently partook in the Ink Wars, I think, which is a reality show, and I think he was like one of the top 4 people in that competition. He did not win the competition, but it's kind of cool to see 2 generations of tattoo artists actively working. Okay, this is Love Never Dies, which is mixed media. And then another colored pencil drawing called Who. Okay, now we're going to the work of P.J. Halliwell. The first piece is called Mortem Ictus, which is made out of paper clay. And again, look at those cool shadows. It kind of looks like something from Star Trek, or is that the sign for Vulcan or something? I'm not sure. And then the piece on the wall is called The Guardian, and if you notice, there's a red dot on it, which makes me happy. That's my favorite phone call to ever make, is to tell an artist that they sold a piece. And then we have 2 pieces by Madison Tech, which incorporate different kinds of skulls. One's a Chinese deer skull, the other's a beaver skull. And then this crazy assemblage sculpture piece on the bottom here was also done by Sean Ross, and it's called End Times. Now these next 2 pieces are kind of interesting. This is Billy Cribbs. What he did is he did a painting called Voodoo Child, which is acrylic on wood. And then he did a Voodoo Child 3-dimensional sculpture made out of Sculpey and acrylic. So it's kind of interesting to see how an artist went from a 2-dimensional media and format to a 3-dimensional sculptural piece. A sculptural, I wouldn't call it a doll, but it's a figurative piece. And Billy will be here during the reception on the 24th. He's going to be painting live, so look for him. Come say hi. Okay, I don't know if I need to tell you who this is. This is well, the artist is Mike Guyett, and this is called Numbskull Trump, freehand drawing, acrylic wash. Then we have a table by Gary DeVoke. These are Mohawk raccoon-fired skulls, and they've got these little red flashing lights in them. The teeth are wired. They're kind of crazy, and there's metal filings to make the Mohawk, which I think is kind of fun. Then the next 4 pieces is another tattoo artist. This is an artist named Tim Kosovar. So this first piece is Solway Firth, which is acrylic on canvas. You've got Hyper Donfia, I hope I'm pronouncing these correctly, oil on board. And this is a Geyser, acrylic on board. And then you're going to see another conjoined twins called Brothers. I don't know what it is about conjoined twins. Maybe because I have a twin. I don't know. But there's just something about them I just find so compelling and so intriguing. Okay, this next painting is done by Joe Stavik, oil on canvas, All That Remains. I went to school with Joe Stavik. He's a surrealist painter. Then we have a piece by Clara Manfredi called Skitter. It's a skull and jewel beetle wing casings and polymer clay, kind of a soft sculpture piece. Then the next piece, you should recognize, if you're from this area, you should recognize the signature look of George Kokar. This is Devil's Greenhouse, acrylic on canvas. And here's another bouquet by Billy Cribbs. Man, I'd like a bouquet of this with a bunch of skulls on top. We've made out of sculpting. Oh, and here's one last piece by Sean Ross called Price Medium, which is colored pencil. Okay, here is a solid oak table by Vladan Takovic. This is the power of the internet and Facebook. Someone showed me a picture of this guy's work. He lives in Broadview Heights. I contacted him. I said, would you like to give me one of the pieces for the show? He said yes, and here it is. It's very cool, very solid. You've got the skulls on each four of the corners. You can always contact me if you're interested in this sale. This is Sean Mabin, Tau Lotto series, skull with automatic writing, mixed media. Next we have a trio of pieces by Jessica Manco. The top one's called Jaw. It's a deer mandible. Second one's Friend. And the third one is How It's Always Been. These are deer skulls with mixed media. Next we have one of those pieces that just the gift of the shadows is, oh my God, it's so cool. This is Nikki Pico Train, Nikki Choo Choo. It's entitled Mixed Media, but look at those shadows. I couldn't have tried to get that to happen. Then this next sculptural piece is done by Ron White, Together Forever, Skeleton Key. It's ceramic and cold glaze. And the next 2 pieces are by Sarah Wisely Crowley. First one is Birth to Death. Second one is After Georgia. They both have deer skulls, natural and found object assemblage, or assemblage. Okay, Sarah, boy, I hope I do this correctly. These are 3 prints, linoleum cut prints by Sarah Wojcicki. Gosh, I'm so sorry. First one is called TikTok. Second is called Perthrow. And the third one is called Memento Vivere. These are lino cuts on handmade paper. Next we have a small grouping of Akron artist Jack Valentine, who has been collaborating with artist Laura Long. These are raku pieces, raku rattles. First one is called Hung Wrong, and it comes in its own little mirror-backed coffin. Then we have 2 other rattles, Blue Bab Skull Rattle and Yellow Bab Skull Rattle. And then the piece on the pedestal is called Tiska the Casket. It's raku-fired wood. And do you know the difference between a coffin and a casket? I think a coffin is squared off like a rectangle, and a casket has the angled sides. Okay, sorry, I'm having a moment. Two more pieces by Sean Mabin. This is Dead Inside, Papermate Flare, Sharpie marker on paper. Another piece of Sean's, Self-Portrait with Skull. He just opened a gallery called Prama Art Space over in Parma, so check him out. Then we're going to come to a mixed media sculpture by Lisa Rushman, where she's got a little skull, she's got some feathers, mixed media, and that little thing on the, and if I can read it, says, remember to keep some room in your heart for the unimaginable. This is called I Dreamt I Could Fly. Okay, this is Fred Stonehouse, Silence, acrylic on handmade paper. Fred teaches in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's a Facebook friend. Next we have two different groupings by Laura Di Alessandro. The top one is The Heart Asks Pleasure First, which is after an Emily Dickinson poem. It's a digital photograph. And then she did 6 other pieces called Obituary Tales from number 1 through 6, which are photo collage, and there's little stories about them. And then the last piece on this wall is another Fred Stonehouse piece, In the Hole, acrylic on handmade paper. Okay, this is a found object assemblage piece by Gwen Waite. Gwen lives in the Akron area. And she's probably one of the best assemblage artists out of there. Some of the parts that she puts together and how she puts it together, because so many people have asked me about this piece and they said, how does an artist put this together, that you're putting these spigots from a faucet, and then you've got a counter, and you've got, you know, hanging crystals and a handle for a refrigerator, how she can put it in together and make a cohesive statement. Next we have the Diptych by Cecilia Ivy Price. She is this year's poster girl. These are acrylic on canvas. The one on the left is called Till Death Snakes. The one on the right is called Till Death Roses. And every year I try and do a different vibe on the postcard and poster. So I wanted to go a little bit more traditional, a little bit more what I think of as Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. For those of you who've been paying attention, that's my holiday and it's coming up. Okay, this is an artist named Patch Adams. He also goes by the name of Eric Freeman. I met him last year in the Art Belt show. I think he's from east of here, he's not this area. This is called Voodoo Sweet, mixed media and wood. This next piece is one of 2 by Aaron Mulligan, and this is pyrography. And here we go again, and oh my gosh, conjoined twins and a mermaid or a fish. It's like putting some of my favorite genres together, favorite subjects together. This next piece is a multimedia mixed piece by Chris Hertel. It's called Cemetery Underwater, and she also includes a Spanish version of the title, which I don't think I should try and, well, I guess I could try. Cementerio Bajo el Agua. Okay, next we have another pyrography piece from Aaron Mulligan with the 2 skulls. It's called The Joke. Now these next 2 pieces are done by Bill Miller. The top one's called You're a Soldier. The second one's called Sinner and Saint. These are vintage linoleum assemblages. These are linoleum that are pre-World War II. So I'd say a whole bunch of you guys that are watching this video probably weren't even born yet. But you can just see how cool some of these linoleum styles were, and what a great reuse of materials. Okay, we're going to start with a vase by Stephanie Miller Davis, and I put those dead roses. Someone had given me a bouquet of roses and I dried them out, and I realized here was her piece right in front of Cecilia Price's piece with the roses in the back. And so it's again, it's that synchronicity that just kind of shows up. Then she did this really cool candelabra with the skulls and the hands and again the color and the fact that the purple of the candlestick matches the dried flowers and kind of goes with the coloration of the painting behind it. Again, this is just one of those kismet kind of things. And here's a bowl by Stephanie Miller Davis that has the skulls impressed in it. Stephanie will be here during the Boneyard Market, which is Thursday, October 24th. Okay, these next few pieces is done by an artist named Danielle Dory. This is a chicken casserole. Gosh, yeah, sure, I'd like to cook my food in a casserole that has a skull of a chicken on it. It's stoneware. And then this next piece is actually a deviled egg tray. So I like the fact that she's putting her personal aesthetic, her personal humor, and incorporating it into functional pieces or quasi-functional pieces. And then we have this one that's called the Bunny Skull Bowl, which is also stoneware. Okay. So next we're approaching the mixed media soft sculpture doll by Joyce Morrow Jones. Joyce is known for using these opulent fabrics and all kinds of mixed media pieces. And this little lady is called I Blossomed After Death. Okay, this is a mixed media piece by Kevin Bunton. It was a dark night, very like this. And look how cool that is. He's in a boat shaped like a coffin, and he's known for his sculptural pieces. Okay, this next piece is Laura Lee Hudson, My Rib, My Body, My Egg. It's Champlavé enamel, copper, fine silver, antique ceiling tin, wood. Again, I always recommend that you come to the gallery and see the pieces in person. Seeing it in video is great, but seeing it, feeling what is emoting from these pieces is also important. This is another piece by our poster girl, Cecilia Ivy Price, called Anatomy of a Fallen Angel, oil on canvas. Okay, these next two pieces are done by the artist known as Mandam. The one on the left is the Medical Trials of the Saints, Jerome the Translator. It is a photographic print. And the second one is Medieval Trials of the Saints, Cernunnos of the Wildwood, photographic print. And then this last piece on this wall, in this section, is Lisa Kenyon, Flower and Skull. It's bronze on a walnut base. Okay, as we start this wall, the first piece is another piece by my Wisconsin artist Fred Stonehouse. It's called Split, acrylic on panel and with an antique frame. This is done by a Columbus area artist named Lainey Bachman. This one's called Hellbender, acrylic on canvas. Now this next piece is kind of cool because this is Brant Gephardt, Texting Bacchus. It's got all these people with cell phones. Sure, people back then had cell phones, and I still don't have one, but I digress. But this is painted cardboard. And Brant is the guy, if you ever used to go to the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, he did all those diorama paintings behind the examples of the setups, the little displays. So I've known him, I carried him in my gallery. I saw this piece in a space at 78th Street Studio. I saw the little skull in the corner, bottom left corner. I'm like, dude, you got to give me this piece. Here's another piece by Lainey Bachman called Death and the Maiden, acrylic on canvas. Now my friend Terry Klausman turned me on to her. I go to see her in the show in Columbus, and I realized that she was a friend of my brother's. I never knew her last name. So how kismet was that, walking in, realizing Lainey, oh my God, Lainey. So, you know, I like to share these anecdotes. I hope I don't bore you with these anecdotes. I just think it makes the whole experience a little bit more personal. Okay, we have two more pieces by Mary Sanders Lazenby. The first, on the left one is Madame Noir, and the second one is called Bride. These are paper mache heads. She creates the costumes for them. They come on these great little stools. They kind of have a life of their own. This next piece is by David Verba, The Gardener or the Moon Pulled Down from the Sky. It's rapidograph pen on paper. I went to school with David. We both graduated from the Institute of Art in 1980. This next piece is done by Lindsay Parker, called The Twilight Grove, acrylic on canvas. And this next piece is Ana Luisa Sanchez. It's called America One. It's assemblage. These are all pieces and rusted parts that came out of Lake Erie. So I love the fact that she's recycling the parts and incorporating them into art, and basically taking mundane objects and elevating them. Next we have the work of Jamie Zentz. This is pencil and oil on birch. And if you can see, and Jamie, what she does, she works on the wood, she pulls out some images in the background and goes to town, and she used to be my gallery assistant, and her work is very identifiable. And it's just another example of her beautiful work and extreme craftsmanship, and the fact that she's got some mad drawing skills. She knows how to draw the figure. Okay, these next two pieces are done by Maddie Cooper. Oh, sorry, Jamie's piece was called Trinity. Maddie's piece, Thanks Kelly, mixed media on recycled paper. And the second one, My Grandmother Won't Like This. Maddie is a current student here at Lakeland, who I've befriended over the years, and she does some cool stuff, so that's why I included her. Here's another piece by Ana Luisa Sanchez called America 2. I normally don't like to show pieces that have guns in them, but she just felt that this piece epitomized, unfortunately, what was going on in America right now. And some people look at this composition and they compare it to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And it is a sad commentary on what's happening with all the gun violence in this country. But I'm not going to mix that with our art exhibit today. And we have another piece by Joyce Morrow Jones called Vasilia the Brave. And there's a little book that goes with it called Vasilia the Brave and Baba Yaga. And my lovely assistant here told me that has to do with that Baba Yaga is a part of Russian folklore. You don't want to mess with Baba, and you don't want her to know that you even exist. Okay, this next piece is Natalie Catania. Once emerged from a hypnotic trance, she actually painted this kind of like when she was in a meditative state, kind of half in the dark, because you can't tell with this, but it's actually painted with glow-in-the-dark paint. So when she's painting it in the dark and doing this, and suddenly when she was done and turned on all the lights, this is what she kind of came up with. Okay, this next grouping of work is Lisa Rushman. It has to do with the three pigs. So the top piece is a wolf skull with charcoal and glass beads. And then you've got the twigs and the straw and the brick, because he's going to try and blow the house down. And then we have a piece by Lynn Norwood Lofton, Pig Latin, Igpe Attenlay. It's earthenware clay. She loves the fact that every time she sees a pig snout, she thinks of a skull. Because a couple people came in and they're like, what's up with this? Why is this here? I said, look at it. Look at that nose. So I just think it's a little bit of it's a little bit more subtle. Some of these pieces are really in your face, and other pieces are like a little bit quieter, which kind of makes you want to go, what's up with this? Here's a piece by Carrie Gortz called Winter Winter Chicken Dinner, where she did the skeletons of the chickens, and then basically everything is in the background is what the chicken would have eaten. So I think she's got a crazy sense of humor. This is acrylic and oil on enameled paper. She's got a studio in West 78th Street. Now this is an unusual grouping by Teresa Yondo, because these two wall tiles, were wood-fired ceramic called Cage No More, bird tile 1 and 2. And then the Cage No More cage, the actual cage part is electric fired, and then the base is wood fired. And there's so many artists doing wood-fired clay. Now she did this over at the Brinsley Institute with Brinsley Tyrell over in Ravenna on the outside of Kent. Okay, this is another piece by David Verba. It's mixed media on a medical cat x-ray. It's from his series called Cats, World War I and Quantum Physics. Another piece by David Verba. Color illustration for Naal, oh boy, Plus Pour by Bernard Florence. Malpertuis Press. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know French. It's ink on paper. You'll have to forgive me. People listening and David himself. I do what I can. Okay, here's a piece by Angela Oster called Glamour Ghoul, which is mixed media. Now this next two pieces, it's actually a collaboration piece with Leslie Edwards Humez and Angela Oster, where Angela came up with doing the drawing or the painting of Prom Mom, and then Leslie Edwards Humez created a three-dimensional version of it called Prom Mom, which is clay and acrylic paint. Okay, we have a couple pieces here by Tessa LeBaron. First one, these are all acrylic on canvas. First one is acrylic on Regenerate. The second one is Burnt Out. You don't always think of a skull having lungs to be able to smoke a cigarette, but here it is. Hey, if you can think it, you can make it happen. Here's another one called Bonehead, and Tessa has a studio over in Negative Space in the Midtown corridor of Cleveland. This top piece is a piece by Diane Fleisch Hughes called Las Hermanas Muertos, collage mixed media. I love the fact that she's got a dragonfly with a skull on it. And I just love the, I don't know, it's one of those crazy, like, titillating things from a fun house, a haunted house. It's like, wow, look at them, look how crazy they are. The pieces on the pedestal, the one on the left, is a bedazzled piece called Rufus by Gail Tabor. Seed beads, rhinestones, chain, and found objects. This next piece is a piece by Gary DeVoke. You saw his mohawks earlier. This is called Shugaskull Skeletone. And it's a lamp that lights up, but it's just not lighting up at this moment. And I wish you could see all the details and all the little dots on dots on dots on dots on dots and how cool these are. Here's another piece by Gadi Zamir called Warrior Nirvana, which is wood-burning gold leaf and fabric dye on wood. Here's Betty Skufka. She's my 91-year-old artist friend. This is called Warrior, oil on canvas board. She is my shero. She paints every day. And she's going to turn 91 in a couple weeks. So go Betty. We have two pieces by Samantha Bias called The Arrangement, Part 1 and 2. These are cyanotypes on paper, so this is a diptych. Next we have a wall installation by Mark Yazinchak. The piece in the middle is a mosaic piece called Necropolis Beach House. And then he's got the skulls that we kind of arranged around the perimeter, and these are porcelain on stain. This next grouping is by Kimberly Chapman. These are porcelain. Some of them have lusters on them. Some of them have, glaze on them. The top left one is called Prick. The next one is You Broke Me, Now Fix Me. The third one is Devil, and there's a red dot. Here we have another kind of conjoined heads. These are two heads, aren't necessarily better than one. Again, these are all porcelain. And then there's two sculptures here called All I Want Is to Poke Your Eyes Out in silver and gold. So one has silver luster and the other has gold luster. And we're going to finish this room out with Karen Sandstrom's Sea Hag. This is ink on paper. Okay, these cases are chock full of stuff. Here's 4 Wise Old Crows by Christina Medusa's Ornaments. We have another piece by Gwen Waite called War Machine. Here's 4 more crows by Christina Medusa. Those are Sculpey with found objects. Okay, we have a crazy sculpture by Craig Tucker called Trifid Celestis, which is epoxy sculpt. Craig is actually our theater tech here at Lakeland. And so many people don't realize that he's an artist. Okay, this is a piece by an artist named Aaron Toole. It's called World War I Cup, where he makes pieces and he incorporates the skulls in them and he gives them to people that served in the military. I'm blanking on that name. Veterans. Thank you, Dan. God, boy, it sucks getting old. Okay, we have another piece here by, well, actually, it's another collaboration, this time with Leslie Edwards Humez and PJ Hallowell, called Juju Bone Rattle. And it's clay and plastic turnings. We have 2 assemblage mixed media pieces by Annie Becker. First one's called Skating By, and the next one is called Riding High. And she just uses some really fun pieces parts, drains and copper fittings and all kinds of crazy stuff. Okay, next is this fun, this kind of hula skelly necklace by my friend Barb Jacob Schmidt. Naiwi Urbane Uhani Hele, and it's sterling mixed metal, sterling silver, brass hula skeleton. She knows how much I love skeletons. She knows how much I love hula girls. So she put them all together, and it's sweet. Okay, on this next pad, the 2 pieces on the edges are done by Kelly Palmer. One's called Maxillary Right Central Incisors. These are milled zirconia, dental porcelain, and dental floss. And then the other side is called Skull Grill. And then in the middle is a piece, another piece by Barb Jacob Schmidt called Mitzvah Merit Skull Necklace with mixed metals. We have a ring, I Want to Hold Your Hand, by Linda Erdy with sterling silver and a peridot. And then we have a grouping here by a husband and wife team named Marianne Posh and John Goulias. Although the cigar box on the left is done by Marianne. It's mixed metal, cigar box with skull. And then the one on the right is a cigar box with this carved stone. And then they incorporate other stones into the necklaces. Skull with heart necklace is a spiderwood jasper. Skull with candle necklace is palmwood. Bolo tie with petrified palmwood. And skull with carnelian necklace. We have 2 more pieces here by Velton and Carey. Death in Bronze pendant and a lupo pendant with different pieces, parts of skulls and vertebrae. Then we have a necklace here by Solane Blackheart, Tau Copper Dragon pendant, which is mixed media. And then there's a pair of earrings with her called Purple Haze Skull earrings. And then she did a monarch skull brooch on top and Aztec skull pendant on the bottom. And then we have a ceramic sculpture called Times a Wastin' by Deborah Cox. She has a partnership with a couple other women, and they call themselves the Mud Sisters. Okay, the bottom shelf, we've got 3 skeleton necklaces by Christina Medusa. We have a 7-toned Tattooed Skull Ocarina by Debbie Cox. Then T. Lynn White, she was from Cleveland, she's in Florida. This is called Cayuga. It's a fox skull and a fox pelt. We have a honey jar by Debbie Cox. And then 4 more necklaces by Christina Medusa, Christina's Ornaments. And then this last shelf, in this case, all of these pieces were done by Jack Valentine in collaboration with Laura Long. So the pieces on the outside are fired in a kiln, but the copper skull and the turquoise skull are raku fired. The white skull in the middle is actually made out of porcelain. Okay, this piece on the left is a piece by Leslie Edwards Humez, Anti-Social Media, bas-relief canvas, paint and clay. 2 pieces by Laurel Herbold, acrylic on canvas, Death of the Party instead of Life of the Party, and New Warrior. And Laurel has a studio in the 78th Street complex, so go visit her on a third Friday. Okay, this next piece, the way this lit out just was like, again, it's a gift. This is done by a woman named Sharon Martin. It's called Scalgoris de Cranium. And again, it was just one of those things where the reflections, the beveled glass, just the way the light hit, just made for an incredible installation. I couldn't have asked for a better way of the light hitting it. I couldn't have tried to make it look that cool. Then we have up here, we have a piece of Gail Trunick called Victoria Postmortem. And again, look at those lovely shadows with clay and found objects. Here's another piece by Celia Ivy Price called Sugar Skull Portrait, which is oil on canvas. Another piece by Velton and Carey, Alabrese's Legata, mixed media. You'll see Velton at the Boneyard Market. Here's a painted on silk scarf by Barbara Bloom, True Love Never Dies. It's hand-painted silk. Next is Chagrin Falls artist Pam Sprumuli. Oh God, you guys are killing me with the Spanish. Hablar and Color, graphic illustration that was printed on canvas. And I just love how this whole grouping came together because it's all images of pretty much people and skulls with the flowers on their hair, which just came out so wonderful. And then the last piece on this wall is called Queen of the Jungle, latex on paper by Laurel Herbold. Okay, these next 4 pieces are by Dan Levin from California, I think Pasadena. Sisters for Life, Senor Cranio and Senora Cranio. And this next piece I've gotten so many comments on. It's called Joined at the Skull, where he took the vintage photograph, opened it up, and put that skull bead on that. It's like if I had $1 for how many people talk to me about that piece, I'd have a lot of dollars. It's really a fun piece. Okay, we're going to go into the case. Gosh, there's a bunch of cool stuff in here. Okay, on the left and on the far right are 2 pieces by Michigan artist named Diane Hockey. These are ceramic with mixed media. You can't really see, but there's sequins inside of them. This first one is called Don't Worry, Be Happy. This next piece is a piece by Renee Tay, and it's called Skull Telephone, which is assemblage, and she just, oh my God, she just puts crazy things together. The piece in the back is by Samantha Myers, Forlorn Dolls, called Florence, which is mixed media. Another piece by Renee Tay called Bambi Thumper Skull. And then here's another piece by Diane Hockey, Time's Running Out. I don't know if it's going to show up on the video, but there is a little like antique wristwatch clock in the middle of there. Okay, piece on the end here. This is another Velton and Carey, Sugar Sweet Nightmare with mixed media and a deer skull. And I don't know if it's picking up at those where the hair would be. Those are actually like painted arms. This is so cool. Have a piece by Madison Tech called Poe, which is a red raven skull with a sculpture. Then we have 2 traditional sugar skulls, Warrior Sugar Skull and Frida Sugar Skull by Amanda Plavin. And the piece in the back is by Daniel Paredes, ofrenda. He is actually a ceramic artist who lives in Mexico, and he's the son of a friend of a colleague. So how she was in Mexico, met this man, brought this piece back, and now it's in the show. It's just kind of cool how it all came about. Then we have 2 pieces of ceramic sculpture by Natrona Heights artist in Pennsylvania, Ron Korzinski. The one's called a Face, and the one on the right is called Flower Lady. And then the platters that are on the bottom shelf are actually Ron's granddaughter, Taylor Baker. and the one on the left is called Plate 1. We have a mixed media journal with blank pages called Handmade Book by Mary Sanders Lazenby. This is next is a ceramic sculpture by Jeffrey Allen, skull with hinged jaw. You can't really tell, but the jaw does move. Another piece by Madeline Cooper called Remembering Bowl, which is ceramic. And another plate by Taylor Baker called Plate 2. Here's a vintage diptych that was painted by Belton and Carey called Dance the Macabre. We've got 4 masks by Mary Sanders Lazenby. The one on the top is Esposa de la Muerto. Desert Beauty is the orange one. We got Lirio de Cala, which is the calla lilies, and Sacred Heart, which is the blue one with the Sacred Heart on the forehead. And these are paper, cotton cloth, acrylic paint. This next piece is done by April Couch called Happily Dead. And what is unhappily dead or almost dead? Sorry, that's not quite dead yet. Sorry, I had to channel some Monty Python. Although Dan could do a much better job. This is chalk paint, mixed media, and canvas. We have 2 pieces by George Kokar. The Last Selfie on top, acrylic on canvas, and Bob Ross in Heaven. So these are great pop culture imagery here. Here's another piece by Natalie Catania. What was in that drink? This is acrylic on canvas. It is painted with Dayglow paint, but I don't have the facilities to be able to show it in Dayglow, so you really can't tell. And we really can't even turn the lights off, so you can't see it glowing. And then the last piece on this wall is another piece by Mary Sanders Lazenby, Dios de la Muerto, paper, cotton cloth, and acrylic paint. Here's another piece by Mary Sanders Lazenby called Crazy Bones, acrylic on canvas. Next we have 3 pieces by Lisa Laurie, watercolor ink on panel. First one is Happy Family. Second one is Eternal Sunshine. Second is Death's Amore. I don't think it's going to show up, but she got a hold of some kind of holographic gel pen thingy that when you look at it from the side, it does this little hologram stuff, which is just so cool. She gave us some pieces 2 years ago, and so she's another repeat exhibitor, but I just love what she does between the symbolism of what she's doing and then that crazy iridescence holographic whatever in the paint she uses in the pen. Okay, this is a digital print by Jerry Shamray, working with a real gnome skull. Or get the gnome, I don't know. Sorry. I cracked myself up. Okay, this is done by Chris Deegan called Skull, ink and graphite on paper. Now next, this is a piece by my gallery assistant extraordinaire, my filmmaker here, Dan Simone. Once burnt like the moth, what have we to fear? Graphite and colored pencil on paper. We have 2 pieces by Sean Crum. The top one is called Resurrection 2. The bottom one is called Resurrection 3. They're both watercolors, and they both have the skulls on the monarch butterfly. The monarch butterfly is quite a symbol for the Dia de los Muertos in the Latin American culture. There's death moths that are out in nature that has like a skull on it, so this is very symbolic. Okay, here's another big case. Again, we've got Diane Hawkey's pieces on the sides where they're ceramic sculpture. And this first one's called Flower Pot Floral. And then these next grouping, this is a Cincinnati artist named Terry Kern. The first piece is called The Corpse Reviver 2. It's a little shrine with a cup, and then there's a recipe for the drink. Then there's 3 more cups called Skull Crusher, Santa Muertos, Bloodshot Margarita. She also did the 3 pendants, and again, see that red dot? That means somebody sold something. So if you want to buy something, we'd be happy to take your money. We'd also appreciate that you're supporting the artist and the gallery. And here's another shrine of Terry Kern's called Tradition, Immortality. There's another piece by Diane Hockey, flower pot, black and white, again with a red dot. Okay, these are two pieces by Michael W. High. These are ceramic sculpture. The figure is called Fate's Long Life. The one with the bird is called Guarding Time. We have two pieces here by Cappy Phillips. The one on the left is called Whoop Whoop. It's recycled, reclaimed. And this one on the right is called Robo Skull. So she's got all kinds of crazy stuff glued onto these skulls. Here's another piece by Michael W. High, The Red Shroud. And look, it's got a red dot, which again makes me very happy. Yes, thank you for honing in on that. My wonderful videographer here. Okay, on the bottom shelf, this first piece is an assemblage piece by Gail Crum, I Love a Parade. Then two more pieces by Diane Hockey. They're kind of interpretations of sugar skulls, but they're actually made with like glass seed beads. And it says, I want to believe, Spooky Mulder. And then the truth is out there, but so are the lies by Dana Scully, which I think is a great play on words. And then this last piece in the case is another piece by Gail Crum called Pull Toy. And then these two pieces on the wall are done by Sean Crum. That's her husband. So Resurrection 4 is on top. Oops, we're looking at Resurrection right now. And then the smaller one on top is Resurrection 4. This is Joan Russick's ceramic piece. Oops. Joan teaches at the Valley Art Center. It's called Party Skull Number 1. Now this next piece is another Patch Adams called The End of Stars, and it's got a little battery pack on the side, and it's got blinking blue lights, which I'm hoping are going to come through on the video. I love it when the artists bring everything self-contained. It's battery packed. We've got extra batteries. We don't have to deal with it. Thank you. I so appreciate that. Okay, these next two pieces are done by Lorelei Scazenta. This first piece is called Warrior, mixed media on wood. And the second is I Told You I Loved You. She will also have work here during the Boneyard Market on Thursday, October 24th. And last on this wall, Party Skull Number 1, ceramic. It's done by Joan Russick. And here is a kind of a traditional skull done in ceramics by Chris Hurdle. Okay, my beautiful Zakomilko, which is a form of flower, and that's why this is a flower vendor with the flowers in her cart. And here's Gadi Zamir's This Old Song About Life and Death, another wood-burning piece with gold leaf and fabric dye. Okay, this is an ofrenda that was created by Higo and Leslie Humez. There are papier-mâché porcelain pieces by Higo. There's sculptural pieces by Leslie Humez. There's traditional papo picados, which is the cut paper. There's little luminaries, which I realized I didn't turn on. They will be on for the reception. The paper flowers. And the whole idea behind the ofrenda is that you create an altar to honor the people that you are honoring who came before you. So every piece on this altar has a significance. You put out their favorite food, you put out their favorite drink, because they believe that they can smell but they can't taste. So then you put out cigars, you put out pictures of the dead, you put out candles, and every element has, like I said, a specific little significance. I did create some handouts that will be available here, so you can read about the ofrenda and what the traditional elements are about, and then it'll kind of give you a background about what goes on with this holiday and why the ofrenda is so important. So thank you so much for joining us today. I know this is a long one, but like I said, this is record for me. 102 artists in the exhibition, 26 artists in the auction, and over 307 pieces in the show, and 28 pieces for the auction itself. So this is like mind blown. So I hope you've enjoyed the tour. I strongly recommend you come visit us on Thursday, October 24th for the costume party, the Boneyard Market, and the auction. And if you go on the gallery website, you'll see a prompt that'll take you to the auction pieces. So hopefully you'll bid high, bid often, and help support the gallery and the programming I'm doing. So thank you, and adios, amigos.